So we have a new study out on magic mushrooms and pretty amazing finding in it. Let's take a look. Magic mushroom compound rewires the brain for people with depression. Psilocybin, the psychedelic compound found in magic mushrooms, could be used to help treat depression with new human trials, resulting in a promising advance, which could help where traditional therapies may not. Scientists at Imperial College London said their study suggests the compound opens up communication between different parts of the brain and works therapeutically to alleviate depression. They said it could possibly provide treatment for other psychiatric conditions that are marked by fixed patterns of thinking. The researchers said psilocybin is one of a number of psychedelics being explored as a potential therapy for psychiatric disorders. Several studies have trialed a synthesized form of the drug to treat patients with depression and anxiety with promising results. The latest results, taken from 2 combined studies, revealed that people who respond to psilocybin-assisted therapy showed increased brain connectivity not just during their treatment, but up to 3 weeks afterwards. This opening up effort was associated with a self-reported improvements in their depression. However, similar changes in brain connectivity were not seen in those treated with a conventional antidepressant called escitalopram, suggesting the psychedelic works differently in treating depression. Okay. So that's fascinating to me because this suggests that perhaps one of the parts of depression is, for whatever reason, your brain keeps going over and over and over with negative thoughts or the same thoughts. You can only think about things in the same way with the same pattern, and that pattern is not productive, it's not positive for you. And they say what magic mushrooms do is they break you free of that. They break you free of the same old thought patterns which are leaving you miserable and open up the possibility to be happier. Now, they also say, well, the traditional antidepressants don't work well for that, which you could look at that as like, oh, this means they're useless. Or you could come away with the conclusion that perhaps the way the antidepressants work is a different path to also alleviate some symptoms of depression. And it depends on the individual. It depends on the kind of antidepressant we're talking about. But as a general rule, if you're taking SSRIs, you're basically flooding the zone in your brain with more happiness chemicals like serotonin. And that, in theory, is supposed to make you happier. And it works for a lot of people. But the magic mushrooms approach is very clearly a new way to achieve a similar goal. And I mean, that sounds promising to me, man. What's fascinating is every time we look at one of these studies, whether it's, LSD or psilocybin or fill in the blank with whatever psychoactive substance, all the studies come back like, yeah, there appear to be some very promising results because of this. That all these studies have measurable benefits. A reduction in anxiety. They also go on to talk about addiction is another thing, that it can sort of reset the brain in a sense where you don't feel as physically addicted to whatever substance you were possibly physically addicted to before. And we've had a taboo against this for a long time. I mean, there was a brief period where we experimented with it in the US, but then there was, with the drug war crackdown, it's been viewed as like totally off the table and corrupting the youth and whatever. But now at least we're studying it again. At least we're looking into it again. And at some point, I think it's inevitable that a lot of these substances are going to be used for treating various mental health issues. I mean, there's a reason why, for all these years, among some percentage of the population, these things are highly sought after. Even stuff like ketamine, which they've done studies on. Because they kind of work. The substances work. Now, maybe they're not for everybody. Maybe it should be more in a clinical setting where you do talk therapy and, have a certain process and procedure and way of doing it that is more fruitful. But all of the initial evidence that I'm seeing is it's been the same for all these studies, which is like, not only does it have positive effects, but we can even track how some of the effects come about. Like to rewire your brain so that your depressive patterns are changed. That seems like a win-win. And, we've been sort of stuck in neutral for a long time when it comes to certain mental health issues. And so this is very promising for the future. I hope they study it more. I hope eventually this stuff I wouldn't just legalize it for medicinal use. You guys know me. I would legalize it for recreational use too. I think it's, basic freedom. Put in your body whatever you want to put in your body as long as you're not hurting anybody else. But anyway, there you have it. Magic mushrooms rewire the brain for people with depression. There's some positive things that could come on the horizon if, further studies back this up. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.